We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. Now, I am here today with, I'm going to have to try to say it, Omni the
investor guy.
I couldn't remember if it was Omni the real estate guy or Omni the investor guy, but Omni is with us today. And how are you today?
I'm excellent, Casey. Thanks for the invite. Fan of the show.
Absolutely, man. We're certainly glad to have you. And I know you and I have talked a little bit before, and you've got quite an interesting business model set up. And I'm really excited for you to share that with the listeners, because I think it's of utmost value, especially for people that are looking to potentially find a way into the investor space, especially in the way you've scaled what's usually very unscalable in single family rentals. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you came from and how you kind of got started, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I mentioned this briefly before, but it's surreal to have a conversation with you, because I've listened to your show, and I usually listen in that 1.25 or 1.5 speed. So it's like slowed down now. It's a little surreal, but it's great to connect with you in person, or at least
yes,
virtually.
Absolutely. I do. I think sometimes I talk fast, but definitely don't talk 1.5 times fast.
So. Exactly. Well, back to the I guess the origin story, if you will. Been investing in real estate for about 20 years. I've been involved as an investor, got involved as a broker on the retail side as well, commercial, residential, helping investors throughout the process. I'm originally from Hawaii, so that's where it all started. Grew up in Hawaii, started investing in Hawaii, started real estate from the retail side in Hawaii as well. I moved out to the East Coast. I'm in Northern Virginia now, where my wife's from, and yeah, so
I want to do this. I want to call a quick timeout because it sounds to me like you just said you moved from Hawaii to the East Coast. Maybe I misheard. Maybe I misheard that. Did you move from the East Coast to Hawaii, or vice versa?
From Hawaii to Northern Virginia, just
outside
of Washington.
All right. Well, I'm glad we clarified that, because listeners, I assure you, this guy knows what he's talking about. I promise, because I'm sure they're out there like, man, you need to check this guy's head. Why, what is he doing? Why did he move from Hawaii to the East Coast? But nevertheless, man, it's all this great country. It's all the same country of America. But listeners, I promise you, this guy knows what he's talking about. If you don't believe me, just listen on. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Yeah. So my wife's from here. She grew up here. I met her in Hawaii, and it basically gave her the option at some point to say, hey, we can remotely, we had enough rental properties at that point where we can move anywhere we want and just kind of up and move. We weren't location dependent, and she wanted to move back closer to her family. And it actually, what doesn't get talked about a lot, sure, leaving paradise is one thing, but getting out of that time zone was extremely beneficial for the types of investments and the types of partnerships that I was looking to create outside of that area. So that has helped. Sure.
Yeah, because otherwise, I guess maybe you'd be trying to talk to catch somebody first thing in the morning. I mean, you'd have to be getting up at, what is it? Like, I mean, I think they're 4 hours ahead of LA, right?
Yeah, so I'm on the East Coast. They're usually either 5 or 6 hours difference. And so there's really like 2 hours in the day that are like the perfect window, early enough there, but not too late here, where we can have conversations from someone in Hawaii to the East Coast. So it was very limiting. So, that's no longer an issue, but really it came down to, I wanted to give her the option to live where she wanted, and she chose.
Well, and I gotta assume if somebody calls you and says, I've got these, well, in our case, say, I've got this 50-unit apartment building. It's going to be a firehouse sale. I need you to, do you want to submit an offer on it? It's got to be done today. You can't, or it's got to be done this week or whatever. It's tough for you to say, oh yeah, hey, I'll be there tomorrow, check it out. I mean, you can't very well jump on a plane from Hawaii and just, now you could be in LA, or you could be on the West Coast, or you could be maybe even New Mexico in a reasonable amount of time. But my gosh, if they were calling about something in Atlanta, man, you just about be better off to go around the other side of the planet.
You're exactly right. So starting out, I wasn't doing big apartment buildings or even mid-sized apartment buildings. I was, fixing and flipping and wholesaling and buying rental properties. Before real estate, I was a serial entrepreneur, owned a bunch of businesses, owned a retail store at the mall, owned a vending machine business, actually, I worked at a surf shop for a moment and I flipped surfboards. So we bought old surfboards, fixed them up, sold them. And that kind of got me into saying, hey, I'm really good at making old things new. What's the next level? And real estate was clearly the next price point up from a surfboard, apparently. I stumbled across a book. You probably have never heard about it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Stumbled across that.
Nobody ever mentions that.
It's a little known book, right? So, and that, gave me the right nudge and motivated me to say, hey, I got to really focus my efforts. And I went down this real estate business path and been doing it ever since, and loved it. From Hawaii, found a few mentors, found a few groups to learn from, and quickly learned I didn't have enough money to keep investing in Hawaii, so I had to learn how to invest remotely. And that brought me into various states in the United States. And I've been primarily cash flow investing, single family homes, small to mid-sized multifamily homes. Over the last few years, to scale up the frequency of my purchases, I switched to what I call the portfolio BRRRR model, which is a name that I just came up with. I try to buy portfolios almost exclusively. So a landlord that owns 5, 10, 15 properties that somewhat in the same area, but maybe spread out, they're just tired, they're looking to exit. It's difficult for them to exit. It might take them several years to sell off all their properties if that's their goal. And particularly if they have one loan tied to it, it makes it difficult because their lender might not want them to sell one at a time. Their lender may want them to sell them all at the same time. So I'm usually able to offer them a fair price to buy all at the same time. It means I'm buying the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then I'm able to keep the good that I want, usually refinance to pull my equity back out of that property, and then sell off or wholesale the properties that don't fit my portfolio. So that's where we are. Started out at one property per year, got up to 5, 10, 15 properties per year. Last year was our biggest year. We tried to buy one property a week at 52 properties in the year. We didn't quite get it. We got to our high 40s in terms of closings, but that was our highest acquisition year last year, and we're looking to do something comparable this year.
All right, so a couple of questions that I want to dig in on, a couple of little areas that you just covered there. The first being, so I'm going to ask the questions, and then once I get those answers, then I'm going to go a little further, because those answers are going to kind of determine which direction I want to go there. So the first question that I have is, what market are you most heavily invested in right now?
The last, I would say 4 years, maybe 5 years, I've been focusing on doing more on the East Coast, which is where I am. So that's not where I started. I started in Hawaii. I was in Texas. I was in Georgia. I was in a few other states, not really knowing what I was targeting, because I was buying single family homes and duplexes, and those are easy to find anywhere. But I really started to focus in this area, not because it's the best place to invest. It's a decent place to invest. I believe you can make any place a good investment market if you have the right team.
Where on the East Coast specifically?
Sure. I'm in a place called Loudoun County, which is Northern Virginia. Okay. We're about 40 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., and we're right in a tri-state pocket. We're minutes away from Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia, and D.C. So those markets I've been focusing in.
And how many properties do you have in that one area?
So we passed the 100 property mark total out of our entire portfolio last year, where I think we're at about 120 properties. In this area, we're probably up to 65, 67-ish property range. Yeah.
So you're almost half in one market then.
Yeah.
That's not very far from where you are right now.
Correct. And once again, it's not because I'm extremely hands-on. I do try to be a fairly hands-off investor when it comes to cash flow.
Sure.
I have 3 young kids, and I wanted to, be able to take them to my properties, take them to their properties, and give them some hands-on experience to hopefully give them the financial education in real time along the way.
Okay. And what's the biggest chunk that you bought at one time, as far as number of, say, units or doors or properties or whatever? What's the biggest chunk you bought at one time?
Yeah, the largest portfolio I purchased was an 18 property portfolio, and that had a few single family homes, that had a bunch of duplexes, and the highest unit count in that portfolio was a 7-unit.
Okay.
So it was a mix of properties. I try not to hold on to many single family homes anymore. I try to keep mainly the multifamily, but if the single families will work for things like co-living or even short-term rentals, then I'll consider that as well.
Sure. Okay. All right. Now, so the reason I was getting towards what market you were in was just to give the listener some context to the next question, which is, I think, becomes a massive hurdle for a lot of people. And that is what a lot of people, I guess, kind of refer to as the property management merry-go-round, because it feels like some people get, like, property management always seems like if you have 3 parts of property management, it's like everybody always has 1 or 2, but there's very few people that have a whole. And I don't even know how to break those parts down. Maybe like service and ability to be reached and good tenant experiences or something like that. But there's very few people that just have a whole package and are like just really top-notch property managers in every aspect. So, and I know from talking to you, you're pretty systemized in what you do. And I don't think that you take kindly to people that don't, like, the people that make you not feel like you're getting what you're paying them for. So I want you to tell us a little bit about your selection process and because I guess I'm assuming here that your property managers are probably like not subpar, like cream of the crop, if I had to bet, the way you operate. So I want to know a little bit about how you select those people, where you find them, and how they came. And maybe you're like, no, I got some subpar property managers and they suck, I'm fixing to fire it. I mean, you may tell me completely different, but I just think based on the way we've talked that you want things pretty tip top shape.
Yeah, I do hold my property managers by far are one of the most important people in your team. Your real estate agent. I'm licensed in 5 states. I'm not my own agent just because I'm not the expert in all those areas. So I still hire a professional wherever I'm investing. I leverage their network. The property manager is extremely essential long term as well. And I think I'm really good at finding or grooming property managers to be the right fit for me. And there's horror stories for property managers, for agents, for no matter what industry you're in. And I lived through those, but it took me a while to figure out that they weren't terrible property managers. I was a terrible investor. I was a terrible landlord. And I had one property. I wanted them to treat me like I was the most important person in their life and portfolio. And economically, it didn't make sense, right? So it wasn't until I made commitments to property managers to own more properties that they're going to manage. So I'm going to say, I want to become your number 1 client. How many doors, how many units do I need to be able to do that? And as long as you help me meet these standards, I tell them what my standards are, I'm going to continue to buy around you. And that became my strategy. And so some property managers bought into that, some didn't. If I own a property and property manager only manages 1 property for me, that tells me that I never found that rockstar property manager. Maybe it's an okay investment, but every few years I might cycle through a different property manager until I find that rockstar property manager that kind of conforms to what makes sense for me. And then when that happens, then I'll go all in on that market to continue to purchase there. So the pockets where I've ended up in is really heavily dictated by I found rockstar property managers and got them to buy into almost a partnership. Like I'm helping them grow their business, sometimes double or triple their portfolio in terms of what they're managing through just one investor.
Yeah.
If they buy into, helping me making sure I have own good investment properties that they're managing.
Sure. And that also, I'm sure grooming those relationships also leads you to down the path of owner calling property manager saying, man, I am really tired of this damn headache. I'm ready to get rid of these properties. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, I got a guy I know that if you'll give me just a minute, I'll call him and see, because he might be interested. Your properties are exactly what he's looking for. And then lo and behold, you get the phone call.
That's exactly. A lot of my portfolios came that way. I started out my career finding the deals, right? I drove for dollars. I did everything, direct mail that I could, and those are great ways to start. I don't have the time to do that anymore, so I have to build relationships. I meet up, with various agents and investors that I work with, try to provide value, and they find deals for me. But by far, my number one source has been my property managers, and I tell them exactly that. If you're working with anyone and they're looking to exit, one, they know if someone sells their portfolio, let's say it's a 10 property portfolio, maybe 20 doors, they might lose all 20 of those doors. That's a big income loss for them.
Yeah.
Because anyone else that buys it, like if they buy it one at a time, maybe someone buys it that wants to move into the property. So that's not going to be a rental anymore. But anyone else that buys it, they might have their own property management team they're bringing in. So they know they get it to me. I make their client a great offer, help them transition out quicker than they thought they could. I get to buy it at a discount because of that, where it makes sense. And then my property manager retains that business, and hopefully I'm able to clean up those properties to a higher level, bring in quality tenants that they enjoy managing, and it improves their portfolio from within.
Sure. Now, did you look for, were the property managers that work for you now, and how many different property managers is there across your?
So I probably have 12, maybe 13 different property managers. Some of those are managing one property. So if they're listening to this, that means that they're not the rockstar property manager, yet, or just starting in those areas.
I got you.
But the majority of them are managed under 5 or 6 property managers. Okay. Just because I found that regional property managers are the best for my strategy.
The 5 or 6 that you continually refer to as the rockstar property managers, were most of those, did they come through like referrals, or did they come through just you like picking up the phone and calling and finding out? How did you find them?
Yeah, usually referral based. When I am trying to break into a new market, especially when I was in Hawaii, trying to break into somewhere that I had no clue where it was, in the mainland, I tried to find an investor or real estate agent in that area first. And if I can connect on the investor network and meet someone there and try to figure out, can I add value to an investor that's already doing what I want to do there? So if I was looking to fix or flip, or if I was looking to buy rental properties, connect with them and figure out, is there a way I can partner with them? Often it meant I became their private money lender just to get started. I got eyes on their deal though. They're getting a benefit because they have a private money lender. I'm getting a benefit. I'm tapping into their network, and I get to fairly risk-free decide on whether I actually want to move forward in that market. So I've invested passively or semi-passively in many markets before I actually got into those markets. Sure. And then often those relationships turned into, I got a rockstar agent to connect with, I got a rockstar property manager to connect with, or at least a part of that team is in place.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is everybody wants to just conquer the network in like 3 days, and instead you not only do you not conquer even the smallest networks, you tap in, like you said, you might pick up 10 or 15 here, people that you might be able to just kind of coerce to come towards you, and so which leads me to the next part of the discussion that I want to bring up is your meetup. Which I know we've chatted very little, just a little bit about the Cash Flow Breakfast Club. It's actually the Cash Flow Breakfast Club that happens in the evening. So maybe it should be the Cash Flow Breakfast for Dinner Club or something. Right? No, I'm just kidding. And by the way, we always joke about the Hawaii, the Hawaii stuff, because I hear people all the time say that they want to take a vacation to Hawaii. And it's just like, man, everything over there. I know, like I said, I know we joke about it, but man, your money goes like, if your money goes 10 feet over here, it goes like 2 inches over there. And it's just, I've just always heard that, and not to mention that the volatility, like all of a sudden, like you don't just you buy a house for $1 million. You don't just lose like 20 or 30,000 in equity overnight when the market decides to tank. You lose 2 or 3 or 400,000, and then you obviously it's going to come back, but it kind of weeds everybody out along the way. So but nevertheless, let's move on to the Cash Flow Breakfast Club. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how that got started? And because I know there's got to be some beginning or wannabe syndicators that are listening that really want to try to make this part of their initiative or part of their plan to educate people and find investors.
Yeah, the Cash Flow Breakfast Club, probably the most fulfilling thing that I do. It started out a few years ago, very small, and it probably started out of guilt more than anything, because my wife and I, for almost 20 years, have been putting our head down and just investing and not really sharing. We're very private people. Like me appearing on a podcast was ridiculous even just a handful of years ago, and we put our head down, maybe because of insecurities. We didn't want people to tell us we were stupid for taking all these risks or whatever it may be. But 20 years goes by, we look up and we've achieved a level of success that we're excited about, but we didn't really bring a lot of people along the way. Friends, family, classmates that could have benefited, from conversations, really didn't benefit. And so really over the last several years, I've been trying to pour as much into just providing content, free knowledge as possible to bring my friends, to bring my family, classmates, my coworkers. I work on the retail side in residential. I have about 100 agent real estate office here in Northern Virginia. Most of the agents were not real estate investors because they were, as you're in the business, you have agents and you have investors, and sometimes they don't even, connect the dots there.
Yeah.
And you see agents making a ton of money, but still not understanding how they're going to retire or how they can step away. The moment I stop working as an agent, the moment I stop working as a flipper or whatever it may be, the money stops. Yep. And so I said, okay, I'm going to start. I've been mentoring agents to help them become successful real estate agents. I'm going to open up and say, I'm going to bring you into the world of investing, which was always a different thing.
And that was, man, my listeners are used to me talking about building that side of the business, the sales business, and letting it become basically, I was on a transactional leash. You know what I'm saying? Like the leash didn't even have somebody holding it in the front. I was just like being wove through this world of, and like exactly what you said, you hit the nail on the head when you said, when you stop flipping, everything stopped, right? You stop selling, everything stops. You very rarely will ever stop renting. And if you do stop renting, it's not going to be everything at one time. And so, man, that's really powerful stuff.
100%.
So simple.
Yeah. Well, you would think, and that's what I thought. I think in the back of my head, I just assumed every agent did. So I started out as an investor first, and then I needed an active income to continue to buy properties. And I said, well, let me look into this real estate as an active income. And I was blessed. I made a lot of money as a real estate agent. But because my mindset was investor first, I poured almost everything I made as an agent into buying properties, and I let those properties support our lifestyle. And so that was always a cycle. And so fast forward to a few years ago, started to mentor agents just within my group on that, and really got to an expectation now where almost our entire office agents are investors, either own properties, cash flow properties, or in the process of it. We have wholesalers, we have flippers, we have cash flow, we have syndicators. And so we heavily focus on helping investors. And it was started out as I just wanted to help my agents. Then the agents were like, well, can we bring friends and family to this? And how about our clients? And then it ballooned into something that was pretty big. And we have about once a month a meetup, an in-person meetup. It's called the Cash Flow Breakfast Club. My space can hold about 100 people. You typically get 250 to 300 people sign up that get turned away. So we do have a pretty exclusive group in here. But once again, in the group, we have the expectation of you're not coming just to meet, greet, and learn. We do a lot of that. We are intensive on education, but it's almost like speed dating of networking. We force you to make connections while you're there, and we expect you to try to get under contract with a deal within a few months of coming to one of our events. Because if you're not practicing it, why are you gaining this knowledge, right?
That's right.
So that's really the goal. That's what it comes down to. I wrote a book a few years ago called The Cash Flow Breakfast Club. Never published it, and it was based on this principle of what my story growing up, and I was using it almost like a training manual in these breakfast clubs. And then this last year, my wife really is the one that pushed me. Said, let's just go ahead and finalize it and get it published. So we put out the book a few months ago, and it talks about what it looks like from the inside from one of these cash flow breakfast clubs. It's a fictional parable of a guy that happened to grow up in Hawaii, that happened to be an investor, that happened to get into real estate. So there's a lot of my story in there.
Sure.
But I wanted to add some other stories of friends, family, and clients in there as well to make it as relatable to people on different levels. So it basically step by step, how to achieve financial freedom. What did I do? Very simple, starting from nothing to get to financial freedom before the age of 30, and then understanding that is just step one. Financial freedom, step one. The next step is generational wealth. The next step is leaving your legacy. I find too many people when they get into real estate investing or becoming an agent, they're jumping into, I want to leave a mark. I want to build a legacy before they're financially free. And the type of investing you do to achieve financial freedom is completely different than the type of investing you do when you're thinking about leaving a legacy. Typically higher risk, maybe higher reward on the generational wealth legacy side, more appreciation, versus just straight old boring cash flow is one of the best ways to achieve financial freedom.
Sure. Yeah. Straight old boring cash flow, right?
Exactly.
But so you said you have between 200 and 300 people sign up. How are these people finding? Just word of mouth?
Yeah, word of mouth. Rarely do we even get to advertise the event. So there's a VIP every time someone sees it, someone posts about it. We have a VIP sign up link. They can sign up to be emailed and notified when it comes out. And usually within a day, the RSVPs are pretty firm in there, and we're pretty strict. If you don't show up or you show up late, we kick you out of the group because we have people hungry, ready to come in.
Yeah.
And so I think that exclusivity, people actually get more out of it because they hold it at a higher value. They're actually trying to implement what they learn. They're building some networks and creating some great relationships there. My team as real estate agents is great because they're helping clients, they're investing, and they're helping as agents as well. So it's a great ecosystem that we've been able to build. So anyone looking to build a meetup, it is extremely beneficial, but it's more rewarding than anything else.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cash Flow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
Sure. Awesome, man. That's great. And especially if you're looking at it from a giving back to the community kind of thing, and having things that really like giving back, like you said, giving back the education and saying, hey, you either get a deal under contract in the first X number of months or weeks or whatever, or, we've got to move on to somebody else because like you said, there's people out there that are hungry that want to do deals. And so, well, listen, now we're running a little bit short on time here, but we've got a couple of questions we ask every person that comes on the show. There's no right or wrong answer, but the first of those questions is, what is the best book that you have recently read or are currently reading?
That's a terrible question. There's so many good books, right? So I'm a big fan of the Go Giver series. but that's years ago. So I would say most impactful over the last couple months was, it's not even a real estate book. It's the $100 million Offer by Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you've read that. It's more like an online marketing, like how to just craft brilliant offers. And we did a book club with that. And real estate agents and real estate investors on how do you craft your offers to the public, or offers to sellers, or whatever it may be, in unique form. So if you're looking at crafting better offers, I don't think I've ever seen a better book than the $100 million Offer.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, all right. Well, the next question is, what is a dream vacation that you have either taken or hope to take?
We do travel a lot. We like it. We like to stay domestic. Right now, I love the water, and I love Hawaii. So I didn't get to vacation a lot to Hawaii when I lived there. So I guess one of the benefits of moving away is when we go vacation back to Hawaii, we get to see family and we get to have beaches. So that's probably still my number one spot that I would choose on vacation. Here domestically, we love Arizona, Scottsdale. We try to go there every few months or so. Love the weather out there, but there's nothing like having sand between the toes, sitting on the beach.
That's right. Yeah, I love old Scottsdale. When you go down there where the old town is, and
we were there last week. Yep.
I've oftentimes even said on this show that it's like somebody was riding their horse across the desert and they were like, man, this looks like a good place to put a city. And they just like stopped right in the middle of the desert.
That's exactly what it is.
Flat as far as you can see, really, as you get up in those little deals. But anyway, so all right. Well, Omni, listen, if the listeners heard something that resonated with them today and they want to reach out to you or get in touch with you about you or the Cash Flow Breakfast Club, or maybe learn how to start their own meetup or something, what is the best way for them to do that?
The website is omnitheinvestorguy.com. Talks about meetups, our locations, people that want to start up one of those meetups. I help them do that as well. Various deals that we're working on. Talks a little bit about my family portfolio, and then a separate business portfolio that we run as well. And then social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and a few others at the same handle, omnitheinvestorguy.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And listeners, as always, please head down and leave us a review. Make that a 5-star review. We ask so kindly that you make that a 5-star review. And again, Omni, I want to thank you for coming by today. Oh, I almost forgot. Smash the subscribe button while you're down there. Hit with your elbow, your eye, your whatever it takes. Hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when we release new content, new episodes, and we look to see you back at the next episode of the Cash Flow Pro. And again, Omni, thank you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Cash Flow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.